It's great to be with you again. Given the fact that in the introduction, Lynn pointed out that I spent some time in government, but I also spent a lot of time, frankly, in the private sector, small business, big business, the Olympics. I'm asked from time to time what the differences are, what the experiences were like going from the private side of life into the governmental side. And there are some differences, as you might imagine. I noticed, for instance, that in the governmental side of things, that it's far more forgiving. You might say, what do you mean? Well, in business, if you make bad decisions, if you do things that for instance, if you spend more money than you take in year after year after year, and you borrow more and more and more money with almost no capacity to pay it back, why, in business, you'll go out of business. You'll go bankrupt. But in government, you can sort of kick the can down the road for a long, long time. Ultimately, however, the piper has to be paid. And we're at a point in time in America's history where we've been borrowing too long, been assuming that our spending could go on without any, if you will, wake-up call. And that's arrived. Because at some point soon, we're going to hit that wall, and things we rely upon from government are going to be in trouble. That's one difference. Business is far less forgiving. You got to be quick and honest and deal with the challenges that arise as they arise, or people will lose jobs and businesses will go out of business. There are other differences. I found in government, people don't understand how the economy works at the level of employment. And I'll give you an example of that. I remember I was serving as governor. We wanted to lower the cost of state government. And I thought we might look to some outside companies to consider running our jails and prisons, because we had a pretty substantial state-run operation running our prison system. And I thought maybe one of these outside for-profit companies could do it at lower cost. And so I suggested that to some legislators, and they said, well, Governor, if we hire a for-profit company, they'll be more expensive than we are. And I said, why do you say that? And they said, well, they have to earn a profit, and we don't. And I said, I don't think you understand how the free enterprise system works. You see, profit motivation is what allows enterprises and individuals to find ways to do things at lower and lower cost with better and better quality. The profit motivation is why it's behind why it is that America's economy outperformed those of other nations around the world and created better jobs with higher incomes. The profit motivation is what keeps our economy going. And I said, by the way, where do you think profits go? What happens to profits? And people say, well, it goes to pay the executives those salaries of theirs, or bonuses. I said, actually, none of profit goes to pay the executives. Profit is what's reported after all that's been paid. And now they look like, deer in the headlights. And they say, well, then it goes to pay the owners. And actually, for big companies, I guess about 15% of the profit goes to pay the owners through dividends and so forth. And by the way, the owners are pension funds and retirees as well as wealthy people. And 85% of profit goes to grow the business, to add working capital, to hire more people, to invest in R&D. Profit is what allows a business to hire people. So if you want to have a strong and vibrant economy, you want to hear that entrepreneurs and innovators have profit. And you don't want to have the government take it away from them, because if they do that, it's harder for the economy to grow and for the jobs to grow. In my party, we're interested in seeing growth to create good jobs and to give people good incomes. And we want to keep taxes down so we can do just that. Now there's some other differences. People in the governmental sector tend not to understand that we are in competition, particularly at the federal level. There's competition between our nation and other nations for jobs and for economic vitality. States tend to understand that. You got a great governor right now, Terry Branstad. What a hero, coming back and doing it right again. It's amazing. He knows that Iowa competes with other states for attracting entrepreneurs and innovators and keeping jobs here, that your universities compete for talent. The states understand that. I remember I was a newly elected governor, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, my friend, came to Massachusetts and put billboards up in our state, inviting companies to leave my state and go to his state. So he understood competition, by the way. when I saw that, I decided to put billboards in his state. And we put up some billboards, and they had a picture of me flexing muscles in a t-shirt, and it said, "Smaller muscles but lower taxes." So we compete. Now, given those differences, you know, I look at what's happening at the federal level right now, and I must admit I shake my head. I had the privilege of being in Dallas a few nights ago, and I looked at the audience, and there was a country singer there who I've enjoyed listening to for some years. You may have too, name of Randy Travis. And the host of the event said to Randy, "Would you come up here and sing a song?" Now, I can't imagine a professional singer just saying, "Oh yeah, I'll get up and sing a song," but he did. And he said, "Do you have a guitar?" And he said, "Well, no, my daughter does. It's up in the attic." So we got this old guitar out. Randy Travis tuned it and strummed it up and sang a wonderful song, which was, you know, the song "I Love You Forever." It's a wonderful song. And I began thinking about some of my favorite country tunes. And one of them that you know is "You Picked a Fine Time to Leave Me, Lucille." It's not a particularly sophisticated song, but it's a fun one. For those that don't know the lyrics, the chorus goes like this: "You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille, with 4 hungry children and a crop in the field. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille." And I thought to myself, we picked a fine time to pick as President of the United States, with the economy going down, with tumult in the world. We picked a fine time to pick as our president someone with no experience in the private sector, no experience in the economy, no experience in negotiations, no real experience in leadership. You see, to create jobs, it helps to have actually had a job. And so So we picked this president, kind of an experiment, to see what would happen if we chose someone without experience to lead the nation. And it didn't work out real well, because he came into office, and what he should have done is to follow the first, second, and third rule of any economy in trouble, any enterprise in trouble. Every turnaround has 3 rules. We used to joke in my old firm when we got involved with turnarounds, and they were these: focus, focus, focus. Focus on what's most important. Devote all your energy to fixing that which is broken. And he came into office, and what was happening was people were losing jobs, home values were going down, costs were rising, and instead of focusing his energy on the economy, he delegated the stimulus to Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid. And they built a stimulus which grew government jobs, but didn't grow private sector jobs. And then he went to work on his real agenda. And that was cap and trade to raise energy costs, and card check to unionize places of employment where the employees didn't want unions. Obamacare, with the federal government taking over health care. And of course, regulatory reform relating to the financial services sector, which of course scared the heck out of anybody in the financial sector. He went to work on this agenda, and virtually every aspect of his agenda increased the degree of uncertainty that existed in the employment sector. Small business that was, let's say, energy intensive, wondered what the cost of their energy would be if his cap and trade program went through. People that have a lot of employees wonder, what's the cost of health care going to be if his plan goes through as it did? And they also wondered, gosh, what are the rules going to be with regards to labor if my employees get unionized against their will? The NLRB, with their decision just the other day related to South Carolina and Boeing, a shocking decision for anybody that employs other folks. And so what he did was the very thing that small business and entrepreneurs and even big business can't deal with. You see, business, I spent my life in the private sector. I know that business and entrepreneurs and innovators and employers can handle bad news. They have to, because it happens now and then. What we have a hard time handling is uncertainty. Because if you want to go out and get investors to invest in your idea, and they say, well, how much are you going to make as a profit? And you say, well, I don't know, because I don't know what the cost of my energy will be, or the cost of my people will be, or how much taxes the federal government is going to take. If you don't know those answers, you can't get the investment, and you can't grow. And banks can't loan if they don't know what the rules are going to be. And so at the very time we needed greater certainty, he created greater uncertainty. And as a result, our economy hasn't returned to full employment like it should have. We've seen the slowest job recovery since Hoover. This is a time when we have roughly 20 million Americans, 20 million Americans out of work, or out looking for work because they're in jobs well beneath their capacity, or some have even stopped looking for jobs altogether. You have record numbers of foreclosures. Still, years later from the downturn, they say that officially the recession is over, but the jobs haven't come back, and the foreclosures are continuing, and last quarter the economy grew at 1.8%. What's wrong? What's wrong is that this president put in place a series of economic steps that didn't work. His agenda failed because he doesn't understand how the economy works. It's time to have a president who understands how to create jobs because he's had one and knows how the economy works for the American people.